It's been stated that Utah and BYU, the Holy War this week, is the most important game that the new Big 12 has ever had. That might be correct. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. That is Professor Wild Ute. Philip joining the show today to talk all things. Yeah, I said this earlier. This is a big week for the Big 12 because the Holy War is a top 25 matchup for the first time in a very long time. And it's not even a week where I think my goal is to, I think the term the kids are using is rage bait opposing fan bases. I think the Big 12 can celebrate. You're a Cincinnati fan. You're an Oklahoma State fan. You can celebrate Big Noon Kickoff being there, a top 25 matchup in the conference. This helps the PR of our league, legitimize our league even further. We will actually start there and then get into Texas Tech and money. Like, it makes sense that they're winning because they paid to win, but also Penn State paid to win and Texas paid to win. There are schools that did this, right? And it's not working. Why Texas Tech is it different? How does the Big 12 replicate that with schools like Utah or even Oklahoma State, West Virginia? Then Wild Ute was the guy I quoted like 2 weeks ago and said Utah to the Big Ten is not an impossibility, but rather something that the Big Ten could utilize strategically for opponents around Oregon or close to USC. Why is that still on the table? We'll hit all those things hot, heavy, fast. If you hit subscribe, I can keep my job. You said this was your tweet, Professor, that BYU Utah is the most important game that the new Big 12 has seen. Qualify that.
Oh, my gosh. Drake, you experienced the Holy War last year. The emotion of this game, it makes rational people psycho. Like, that's just the best way to explain it. Like, people that are typically rational, good human beings lose their minds and become something else in this football game. I can't even explain it. It's more than bitter. It's more than deep. The Holy War is everything in the state of Utah. It's bigger than the freaking Super Bowl. So when we're talking about the biggest game in the new Big 12 history, it's so far beyond that. It's absolutely that. But it's like the biggest game in this state, again, bigger than the Super Bowl. This is probably the biggest sporting event the state of Utah's ever freaking seen, is this game on Saturday, major conference, college football playoff, implications on the line. I'm so excited, man. I am shaking excited. I cannot wait for this Saturday. It's a massive game. Utah, BYU, Holy War. Utah claims 61 historical victories versus BYU's 34 historical victories with 4 ties. BYU can't even agree with that. BYU says Utah 58 wins, 31 losses, and 4 ties. Utah's favored in this game, 3.5 points. Big Noon Kickoff's going to be here. Dave Portnoy, Urban Meyer, Barstool Sports. I don't know how that's going to work out in Provo, but that's happening this week. I'm imagining Brett Yormark's going to be at this game. Snarp, legendary YouTube troll guy, is going to be there. And, of course, Locked On Big 12's Drake Toll, baby. He will be there in attendance, and this game is just massive. It's the biggest game in the new Big 12 history. Not even a close second.
So, okay, if and some people will look at that, they'll say, okay, that's hyperbolic, right? You could look at Arizona State and Texas, but in losing that game, I think the Big 12 even got so they saved some face there. People still pointed that game and they go, well, Arizona State wasn't a very good team until they were in the Big 12. And then once they were in the Big 12, they went toe-to-toe with Texas and were a couple calls away. And you could argue that the Big 12 championship, Iowa State and Arizona State, but, you know, the way that panned out, no one talks about that. This is the nation watching the biggest rivalry now in the Big 12. And you said you hit a couple points there that to me make this maybe the biggest game in the rivalry's history. Is that safe to say, given now the playoff is so true to the winner of this one?
Drake, it is. Like, if you look back, there's been 3 historical Holy War matchups. BYU in 1984. They won the national championship. They went undefeated that season and beat Utah by 10 points. That is one of the 3 most significant leading up to this week. Then also the Utah's 2004 and 2008 undefeated seasons, where they went to the Fiesta Bowl and also the Sugar Bowl. They had undefeated seasons those years, massive games. Holy War was absolutely insane those years too. But this year is different. There was nothing. There's a national championship berth on the line here to get in the playoff. Like, you've got a shot at a national championship. BYU and Utah have never had a significant game like this in such a major conference. This was what the dream of a lot of people in the state of Utah wanted when both these teams ended up in the same significant conference. And so I would say, given all those undefeated seasons, throw those away and stuff, it is this game and this year with two ranked teams with everything to play for. Big 12 title implications, 100%. Oh my gosh, like, this is it. This is it. And like, and just talking about significance and just the importance of this rivalry, and like the new Big 12, the new Big 12, the title game last year was big, of course. Anytime you get a playoff berth in Arizona State and Texas, it's going to be a big deal and stuff. But just the significance in the regular season, there's been no matchup that's been this juicy. Outside of last year's Holy War, and Utah was unranked, and they had a losing record at that point. There's everything to play for this year, so it's just a different level of significance for the conference, for the state of Utah, for these programs.
Yeah, I want to take you back actually to 2008. So that game is one I've heard a lot about from Utah fans this year about, look, here's another matchup where you could have had arguably a top 25 BYU team. They would win 10 games and go into this game with 10 wins. And this, I think they end the season actually outside the top 25. But this game didn't matter for the national champion. BYU wasn't going to play for the championship. Utah was not in the BCS era going to be allowed to play for a national championship. This year, the winner of this game will position themselves close to that top 12, where even if, and I said this off the air, and you BYU fans close your ears, Utah fans listen intently. If Utah wins this game, it's better for the Big 12, given now you have two top 25 teams, and almost an added opportunity for the Big 12 to go to the college football playoff, because now BYU goes 11-1, we'll say. Texas Tech goes 11-1, their one loss being BYU. Utah goes 11-1, their one loss being Texas Tech. You're not going to kick two of those three out of the college football playoff conversation. Someone can get in. It's a math game, and the Big 12 can benefit.
Drake, I just see there's only one way. There's two Big 12 teams getting in the college football playoff, in my point of view. And it could be Utah. It could be BYU. Whoever gets to the championship game, if they win that game, they're going to get in the playoff, right? Texas Tech needs to go undefeated in the regular season and lose in the Big 12 championship. And that is the only way, in my mind's eye, you see two teams in the college football playoff, which would be a huge boon to the Big 12 conference. Look, Utah and BYU are in that seat right now, that driver's seat. But Cincinnati, they're right there. They've got 0 conference losses, man. Like, they're hot right now. So they're going to be in that contention. Iowa State's not out of it either. But this game, this Holy War game's going to have a huge bearing on that. And either Utah or BYU, if they were to get to the championship game and beat undefeated Texas Tech, they would be in the playoff. And so would Tech. That is the way. That's really the hope, I think, for the Big 12. Like, I know Texas Tech fans are going to hate hearing that because they haven't won a Big 12 title forever, maybe. I don't know, like for a long time, we know that. But really, what the Big 12 needs to be rooting for is this game to get a lot of eyeballs, a lot of intrigue, highly ranked, tight contested, keep these schools up in the high of the rankings and everything. So when that Big 12 title game rolls around, if one of them get there, then we can make two teams in the college football playoff.
No doubt. Coming up, Texas Tech should definitely be one of those. That's up next on Locked On Big 12. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. Why? I just bought a house, my first house in February. I didn't really know what to do with it. I was looking around. I was like, I'd love to go antiquing. And I'd buy some antique stuff, and it would either fall apart immediately or smell really bad. And with the holidays getting here, and getting here before you know it, what's exciting is that Wayfair can help you with every style, every home, and get you holiday ready. Christmas trees, wreaths, bedding, cookware. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays. So as I plan for my first Christmas in my new home, my first Thanksgiving, I want it to look like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff. Get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. Recently ordered some new holiday decor from Wayfair. When it gets here this weekend, I'll tell you all about it. I like the natural Christmas trees, but also I have another room where I want like my office space to have a Christmas tree. I'm going to go with Wayfair for that one. Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's where I go to win a little dough. The NFL season's here. FanDuel is an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets across that app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. You can build parlays, try player props, even follow the live games and the live lines. So, hey, my team's down by 10. I think they're going to win. Put $10 on it, you can win 100, 200 even. Makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. What are you waiting for? FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com to download that FanDuel app today and get started with FanDuel. The Wild Ute, Professor Wild Ute. Philip, let's get into Texas Tech here because I think this is a story that cannot be understated in the Big 12. First and foremost, it makes sense with the investment that Texas Tech will be winning at the rate that they are winning. The number one transfer portal class, if you ask certain outlets, and millions of dollars pumped into their roster. But what's crazy to me, they're doing nothing different than what Texas did in the offseason or Penn State did in the offseason, right? Why is it working for Texas Tech but not working for some of these schools that have already dropped that, or even a Florida State who's fallen apart, who've already dropped out, who also relied on money in the transfer portal?
I mean, Texas Tech had one of the most expensive rosters in the nation, Drake. I mean, Texas Tech and Cody Campbell, this team is absolutely juice stacked. The edge rushing is insane. Utah saw that. I saw that live, man. It was insane. I actually have not seen a game where Utah lost in the trenches like they did in that Texas Tech game. That's going back years and years and years. There's a special team, especially in the trenches. And Cody Campbell just funded. They've got so much money in that roster and the transfer portal and everything. It's a completely different game they're playing. And plus, we got to be honest with ourselves. The SEC is a different level, right, than the Big 12. Every week and stuff, the opponents you're playing and everything. So if you've got such a juiced up roster in the Big 12, you're going to win a lot more games and stuff because you don't have that SEC talent on the roster any given week. So right now, Texas Tech's got what I think is top 3 to 5 roster in college football. I'm serious about that. This team is absolutely juiced, good. This Texas Tech's going to win a playoff game this year. I'm telling you right now, Drake, they're good enough in the trenches to get that done. And it's a special team and everything. As far as the future of college football too, with Cody Campbell's backing, I don't see that changing anytime soon. If you see Texas Tech recruiting, they're landing 5-star players they're a top SEC program. It's insane what's going on out there in Lubbock right now. And man, if you're a Texas Tech fan, I would be jacked. Definitely. They're
beating everybody in the Big 12 handedly, beating everybody out of conference handedly. My question then would be, I know that Drayton McClain is a Baylor alumni. He owned the Houston Astros for a while. I know there are Taylor Swift's fiance went to Cincinnati. There are rich people who have gone to every one of these schools. I think we're even seeing the investment in BYU basketball right now come from some big pockets. Why? What's holding back Utah or Oklahoma State or West Virginia? I'm going to kind of pool together some of these Big 12 schools. What's holding back, in essence, the rest of the Big 12 from doing this, from doing what Cody Campbell and Texas Tech are doing?
Well, do you have a billionaire? Number one. Not every single one of these schools has a billionaire.
That B is pretty big, by the way. That B is huge.
We're not talking about a decamillionaire here. We're talking about a freaking multi-billionaire like Cody Campbell. So first off, a lot of these programs don't have that. Oklahoma State had T. Boone Pickens, and look what he did for the program 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? So Cody Campbell's a different breed, the way that he got his wealth, the way that he actually played at Texas Tech before as an offensive lineman, the passion that he has and everything. It's just really a great blend for Texas Tech. Not everybody has that luxury of having a former player become a billionaire. How freaking lucky is that, though, Drake? Let's think about that. What about Baylor? What about even Utah or anybody else in the nation? What if you had a quarterback that became a billionaire and stuff and just throws billions into your program, seemingly? Not billions, right? But many, many millions. So I think that Texas Tech is very lucky. And it's kind of ironic, too, that someone like Pat Mahomes isn't funding a lot of that program, but Cody Campbell is. Because they've got other rich NFL players right now that might be throwing money in the Matador Collective, but I'm not certain about that. But I think they're just really lucky and stuff. And not every school has that. And not every school has the willingness of a former player, someone so diehard devoted that they're willing to invest in their college football program. Because guess what? You're not going to get you're not getting a true return. If you're throwing in the money in the stock market or something, you're actually getting a return on your investment. Cody Campbell's just doing it based on his goodwill and everything and wanting to help his program because he loves Texas Tech. It helps the city of Lubbock too. And I'm sure there's some kickbacks there, but I'm sure he's not actually washing everything clean there. I'm sure he's throwing a lot of money into that program still. So it's just a unique situation, very fortuitous for Texas Tech.
So do we need billionaires at the helm of every program, right? In essence, that's what I'm hearing is that the reason that a UCF with Disney World in your backyard, right? Maybe you're in Orlando, which is a good market compared to Ames, Iowa, but what you need is the billionaire word. And if you don't have that, you cannot be Texas Tech. I mean, are they going to have just a leg up on everybody for the rest of time until somebody else finds a billionaire in their backyard?
Until the sport changes, the answer is yes. And that's bunk, Drake. I hate that, actually, because like the idea of developing a program, developing a talent, developing a 2 or 3 star kid into a 5-star is kind of gone. Yeah. Especially with transfer portal and this billionaire, like we're becoming like, it's almost like European soccer and stuff where you just throw like a bunch of money at rosters and everything just to juice them up as much as possible. And it's a year to year. It's almost like a monthly free agency. That's what college football has become. And that's the dark side of the sport, too. You've got some protective mechanisms like the College Sports Commission, NIL Go, the clearinghouse from Deloitte and everything that we've talked about a lot, especially on social media. I know you've talked about that, too, on your channel here. And like those are mechanisms to bring in and try to get fair market value on NIL contracts. But really, there's no teeth to that. And so everyone's really kind of violating that, forgetting that, and not taking that very seriously. So until there's more teeth to regulations around NIL, the billionaire is going to win out. And if you've got a billionaire like Texas Tech, then you're going to win a lot of football games. You're going to get on TV a lot, and you're going to be more significant than ever. And you're probably going to, seriously, Texas Tech, they could win a national championship with Cody Campbell as the benefactor here. That's how much money he's putting into that program. That's how much he cares. And if you've got somebody like that, you could win a freaking national championship. So that is the day we're living in, where billionaires reign. And until we get more controls, it's going to be like that.
I do think that a piece of this does come from the culture of development. So at a Utah, if you find a billionaire in your backyard, Utah has never had the coaching, the money or ability to facilitate a team the way that Ohio State has, whether it's the coaching staff, the players, or any of it. But Utah has made its bet on developing a 2-star player into a 4 or 5-star college football player. So you were a 3-star in high school. Now you're the equivalent of an NFL draft pick in the first 3 rounds because of what Utah was able to turn you into. Giving a Texas Tech, a Utah, access to 4 and 5-star high schoolers with that level of development already rooted in your program, I think is what's going to make some of these grassroots programs like a Texas Tech, who just has never been at the front of college football, or Utah, who when they are at the front of college football still are not in a national championship conversation necessarily. They will be, because the development is there in these halls to grab the better athletes and turn them into even better college football players. Does that feel, 30 seconds here, does that feel like a fair assessment?
It feels like the game's changed a lot, where like now that NIL is so significant, players are looking for more money, which makes sense and everything. So the day of development's still around, but it's changed a little bit. I don't know if it's ever going to go back to that place where we were, even 5 years ago in college football. So again, the billionaires reign today until there's more teeth to college football.
Yeah. Well, and Western Kentucky is now developing that player for 3 years until you get him. That's kind of how it goes now. Coming up, Utah to the Big Ten, not tomorrow, but maybe the next day. Locked on Big 12. Quickly, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is exactly where I go when I need tickets to a college football game. I want to go see BYU and Utah. I want to go see Texas Tech play anybody. Texas Tech versus the world. And with college football back, Game Time is exactly where I go to find those tickets. That's why I use Game Time. I pull it up, couple of taps, amazing deals. I'm talking college football games as low as $25, even lower in some cases. The app makes it super simple. Could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKED on college for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKED on college for $20 off at Game Time. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time and do it today. Professor Wild Ute, the last thing I've got for you, we could spend 25 minutes on this. I quoted you a couple weeks in the show in saying that Utah looks hot to the Big Ten because at this point you've got coaches from Oregon complaining about going to play Rutgers or going to play Illinois or whoever. That conference needs more teams on the West Coast or in the Mountain Time Zone to be able to put together some sort of cohesion in their league. And if they're going to do that, if they want to do that, and I'm sure they do, Utah's at the top of that list.
Absolutely. And this is so significant, Drake, because we just talked about the billionaire and the booster support for football and how relevant your program is, all the eyeballs that get on you. And look, the Big Ten is with the SEC, and those are the Power 2 conferences. We know that right now. We're punching up as Big 12 fans, supporters, and stuff for that. But like every single one of the Big 12 schools would love to any entry in and to jump to the SEC or the Big Ten. We all know that, even if it's not said. Utah fans are just a little bit more vocal about that, about the desire to get to that level of the Big Ten. And there has been chirps, about Utah and the Big Ten. Even someone like Brett McMurphy has come out and said the Big Ten is actually, looking at Utah and eyeing them because of a variety of factors. It's not done deal by any means, right? But like, hey, it's realistic. And there really are about 10 reasons for that. I'm going to quickly go over those reasons very quick here. First off, Utah's a cultural fit for the Big Ten. Look, they were in the Pac-12. You are with USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. You've had relationships with them before. Research institution. Utah's an AAU member. Utah's located in a fastest growing state in the nation, actually. You've got a lot of college-educated people in the state of Utah. One of the best business communities in the whole U.S. and stuff. Is very pro-business, strong football, passionate fan base. You know that, Drake.
Yeah.
So You've got that. You've got a really wealthy middle class, especially in the state of Utah, which is really attractive to advertisers, especially in the Big Ten, in the Big 12, or anywhere else. And check this out. This is actually from Greg Flug, our peek around the corner and everything, is very, very connected to the stuff. He's mentioned this several times. But Utah has a close relationship with, believe it or not, the USC Trojans. Huh. And the USC, I'm serious about this, Drake. And the USC Trojans are actually very pro-Utah. They would love to bring Utah into the Big Ten Conference. So that's a huge factor, perhaps a swing factor in this discussion too. And a couple other ideas. The Mountain Time Zone, the Big Ten's not in the Mountain Time Zone. Add that footprint. No political barriers too if Utah were to jump to the Big Ten Conference. Look, BYU would hate it, get that, and everything, but they're not going to be stopping a public institution in Utah, like a private institution like BYU, from going to the Big Ten Conference. So there's no political hurdles there too. So look, we just outlined a bunch of things. You mentioned it before, a geographic bridge to out west to USC, UCLA and stuff. So you're kind of that middleman, midpoint. Those are all factors that could be a swing factor to get Utah in the Big Ten Conference. It's not a done deal. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but it's realistic.
So I think a couple of the major questions that come to mind, and we may only have time for 2 more questions. It's a fast-moving show. The first one being, in the event that Tony Petitti picks up the phone and Utah's on the other line, can the Big 12 do anything to salvage the Utes being in the conference?
No. And just like if Baylor got the phone call from the SEC, there's nothing you can do. You have to go, Drake. It's a no-brainer decision to go for really any amount of money, because of what that would do to your institution, for your rejuvenated fan base and everything. Just imagine the booster support that would come in because of the excitement. So it's almost like in today's realignment space, like the SMU project of just taking no media rights is almost like what to look for and expect. Basically, there's so much of a value add for getting into the Big Ten of the SEC. It's not even really about the immediate payouts or money. It's just about the status of being there and the higher level of like opponents coming in and who your new peers are. So there's nothing that the Big 12 could do. And just like it wouldn't be for Baylor or BYU or anybody else that got that call up, it's just an easy decision to say, yes, you got to take it.
This is, and I've mentioned this before, it's kind of similar with part of the transfer portal. If I work at KPMG and they're going to give me $2 million a year, and then Deloitte calls and says, we'll give you $4 million a year, I'm going to Deloitte. You're like, yeah, well, Deloitte's more corporate. Okay, I'm getting $2 million more per year. I think I'm going to be okay with, something that's more corporate or something that's different, or, you got to travel a little bit more. I'll find a way to make it work. So the other big question that comes to mind is, if tomorrow the Big 12, the Big 10, I should say, decided to add 2 or 4, and let's go ahead and put on lock the schools in the SEC. None of them are going to leave for the Big 10, but considering everybody out of the ACC, the Big 12, or Notre Dame even, is Utah in that top 2? Are they in that top 4? Are they number 1?
Yeah, so we're getting more in the speculation area, like Drake, right? So
sure, no doubt.
So I just gotta have to say that here. In my view, if the Big Ten moves from 18 to 22 to 24 schools, Utah's got a shot at getting into the Big Ten Conference. Yeah. If there's going to be one or two schools that are going to jump over, it's not going to be Utah. I don't think that the Utes are in that type of position. Of course, a Notre Dame, a UNC, and UVA are going to be the top three targets for the Big Ten and the SEC. Those are the schools they want. That's very known and everything. But when you're looking outside of that, there has to be some stuff that shakes out. In my view, UVA and UNC need to go to the SEC for Utah to get a sniff at the Big Ten Conference. Also, Notre Dame needs to remain independent. My thinking on that is that Stanford and Notre Dame have a close relationship. So if Notre Dame goes to the Big Ten, they're going to want to pull Stanford over. And I don't think that the Big Ten Conference is going to grab multiple teams out west. I think it's a race for Utah versus Stanford versus Cal versus ASU versus Colorado, really for one spot, in my point of view. So if Notre Dame remains Indy, UVA, UNC, go to the SEC, Utah all of a sudden is in probably that fourth spot. So if it goes up to 22 schools, Utah has a chance to sneak in the Big Ten Conference.
I think there are people asking right now, plenty who have followed along the last few years with this realignment conversation. Where do Clemson and Florida State fall in this, and how have we not brought them up yet?
Man, I'll tell you what, so Clemson and Florida State, especially Clemson, I think Clemson's a very good shot at getting the SEC still. I mean, it's such a good fit for the SEC, the Tigers. Florida State's an interesting one. I think they could find themselves in the SEC still. The Big Ten's going to be looking at them. But the Big Ten, really, there's a lot more than football that goes into these decisions, right? Everyone thinks about it in the football range, but hey, do the schools actually align culturally? Everything we just talked about, those 10 reasons why Utah's a fit. Utah's actually ahead of Florida State in some of those categories, way behind in other categories too. I mean, Florida State's brand is massive. We all know that. It's huge and everything. But Florida State, because they're not AAU, because they're not as research heavy focused and everything, they might not be as much of a shoe-in to get into the Big Ten or the SEC as you would think, just on the football field and brand-wise. Whereas Utah's more of a sneaky choice, like a quieter choice and everything. So Florida State has a chance to get in the Big Ten Conference. I still think football-wise they're the crown jewel of realignment. But, hey, it's not a done deal for them to get in any of those conferences. But it seems like the momentum's moving more towards the SEC. So it looks like the SEC, Florida State, Clemson, UVA, UNC could really happen.
Mr. Professor, the Wild Ute. Where can folks go to find more of? Because I know you've talked in depth about each of these topics on your own. Where can folks find more of those conversations?
College Football Mafia. Go check out our YouTube channel. We talk about news, realignment, and then Wild Ute University. Do breakout videos on a lot of these things. Like to get into the details. College Football Mafia, baby.
Not a real professor, he told me at the beginning of the show. Wanted to make it very clear, not a real professor. Also at The Wild Ute on Twitter. I popped a couple of the tweets up if you're watching on YouTube as well. You can find his Twitter at The Wild Ute and plenty. Anything you're working on for the Holy War this week?
Oh, man, I've got so much content going on. We'll be jumping on multiple channels and stuff. College Football Mafia is going to have some good Holy War content. Come check us out.
Love it. That is The Wild Ute. I hope it didn't dox you. Do they know you're Philip? Is that okay?
Yeah, like some of us. Yeah, no problem at all.
Some people do.
I'll be Philip Wild Ute, whatever you want.
Yeah, I hope to see him this weekend at the Holy War. Utah and BYU top-25 matchup. The biggest matchup, arguably, in rivalry history. I think so. I think it's a great point. I do think it's the biggest matchup the Big 12's seen so far to help legitimize this conference. Follow along at LO Big 12 on Twitter, wherever you find your podcast. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.